Welcome everyone. This is the DFS Bum. All right, we have Thursday night showdown slate, so we'll get into the game here real quick. Got some pretty decent news to report before we jump into the game. This comes from the Monday night tournament with the Bills and the 49ers. Was able to take first place in that. It was a pretty big tie, but nonetheless, it was $2,100 for first place. Line up here, Allen had a good game. Pretty much to be expected with him being in the MVP spot that game. And then we had Davis, Beasley, Ayuk, and Mullins. So as you can see, nothing really too crazy with the game or with this lineup there, but nonetheless was able to win, and always excited about that. So all right, yeah, let's just jump into the game. And then, yeah, and I apologize, I didn't get to the Tuesday night game. I was after winning, and it was a close game and a couple of different scenarios. Like, I just had crazy insomnia and literally didn't sleep all like Monday night into Tuesday. And by the time I got up Tuesday, it was I had to build my own lineups before the game started, or I would have not been able to make it in the game. So I didn't get a chance for a YouTube video. But nonetheless, I'm back at it, and we're going at it here Thursday. So let's get into it. We got the New England Patriots and the LA Rams. So starting off with the quarterbacks here, Cam Newton and Jared Goff. Both the guys having pretty solid years. Newton's averaging almost 19 points for the year. Goff 17.5. Matchup wise, though, both pretty tough for them this week. So with Newton going against the Rams, their defense is ranked number 1 overall, number 2 against opposing quarterbacks. Cam's coming in with a price tag on Fanduel of $16,000. On DraftKings, he's $14,200. Jared Goff, like I mentioned with him, with his matchup going against the Patriots, their 8th overall defense and 5th against opposing quarterbacks. His price tag is $15,500 on FanDuel, $14,500 on DraftKings. That's kind of interesting. So he's actually Goff is a little bit more expensive on DraftKings. So I would say either one of those guys could be viable MVP candidates. Of course, on DraftKings, you've got to always keep that salary multiplier in mind there. So maybe Newton gets a little bit of the nod if you were going to go with him, just because he's got that cheaper salary. As far as guys that they're playing to, now I'll back up one thing with Newton. I'm working off Draft Dashboard, and so when they have the shading here, it means he's questionable. I haven't really heard anything major. It sounds like he's going to play, but nonetheless, keep an eye out on it. Especially, too, I tell you, this kind of pissed me off, that whole deal with Des Bryant. Normally, like, they have the active inactive, like, I think it's supposed to be released like 90 minutes before. And I checked, I don't know, it was a good like 40 minutes before the game, and everyone seemed to be fine that I was playing with. And then I got busy doing some other stuff right until tip-off, and then fucking lo and behold, come find out, I guess he tested positive for COVID or something. I don't know, it's kind of weird. But, yeah, it kind of pissed me off, like, how come that news wasn't coming out earlier? But nonetheless, I just mentioned it because obviously things can happen last minute at times. All right, so here, let's take a look at the receivers. Got a pretty good group of some guys here, particularly on the Rams. We have Robert Woods coming in at $13,500 on FanDuel, $13,200 on DraftKings. Matchup for them, the Rams guys, it's not too bad. They're 13th, the Patriots 13th against opposing receivers. It's probably one of the more favorable matchups out of all the positions that we have. With Woods, he's been averaging about 13.5 points for the year, 8.5 targets. Last 5 weeks, his points 14, 12, 25, 6, and 25. Another guy there, I could see him definitely being an MVP candidate. Cooper Kupp, we got him coming down at $13,000 on FanDuel, $12,800 on DraftKings. Averaging almost 9 targets for the year, about 11 points. With Kupp, last 5 games, 11, 5, 28, and 17. So both those guys are definitely good players. And I'll just continue on with some of the Rams guys since we're on them. Josh Reynolds is that third receiver, coming in at $9,500 on FanDuel, $8,100 on DraftKings, averaging 5 targets for the year, about 6 or 7 points. For me, he's not going to be an MVP for any of my lineups. He'll certainly be in the lineups, but I think that for me personally is just a little bit too much of a stretch. However, now on DraftKings, maybe, because of the salary multiplier, maybe there if you were to play him. If you were to play him, it certainly would make you a little bit more contrarian lineup. With Reynolds, last 5 weeks, 3, 7, 5, 13, and 6 has been his production. And then from there, the only other guy with the Rams that receiver wise that's going to be in my player pool would be Van Jefferson. And, for the year, he's only out there about 19% of the snaps, but his usage rate is 13%. Some of the games, it seems like the last month or so that, I don't know, it seems like he's been involved a little bit more. I guess 2 games ago he didn't really score, but before that, his points 5, 7, 2, and 3. Been getting about 2 targets for the year. 6,500 on Fanduel. He's coming in at 1,700 less on DraftKings. So that's a guy. I'm not gonna have heavy ownership with him, but he's certainly a guy with some of the lower priced options where he could end up getting that touchdown. And with that Rams offense, they spread the ball around fairly decently. So I'm gonna get a little bit of him in there. But on those lineups there, of course they're just gonna be partnered up with the studs. I won't probably take it in the in between sort of guys. With them. So jumping on the other side of the ball, we have Jacoby Myers and Bird and Keneal Harry. Maybe Gunnar Alzwiski. He might make my player pool, but let's just go back here individually and look at them, these 4 guys. So with Myers, he's coming in at 10,500 on FanDuel, 9,600 on DraftKings, 5 targets for the year, 7 points, last 5 weeks for him. Production 3, 8, 5, 13, and 23. So it looks like when Keneal Harry came back that maybe he hasn't been producing as much as he had been earlier. But he's a viable option. Maybe not MVP. I don't know if I'd go that far with him. Probably not. I really think probably my MVPs will be Woods, Kupp, and then the 2 quarterbacks. I'll probably just keep it to those guys. But anyway, with Myers here, it'd just be one big play. If you did want to get a little bit crazy and throw him an MVP spot. And then I'm more talking on a FanDuel perspective. But DraftKings, with these so cheap, yeah, that might make sense to get him in the lineup, a few lineups there. Bird coming in here, about 5 targets for the year, 6.5 points, 10,000 on FanDuel, coming at 8,600 on DraftKings. Tough matchups, too, with Myers and rest of these guys going against the Rams. They're number 1 against opposing receivers as well. So that's another reason for me not to have any of those guys in the MVP spot. Then we go down here to Keneal Harry, second-year player out of, I want to say, Arizona State. Been banged up this year, but when he has played, 4.5 targets, about 4.5 points. With him, he's only played 2 out of the last 5 weeks. Last week he had 9 points. And then 3 games ago, he had 7 points. So that's kind of been his deal there. Again, he's 8,000 on FanDuel, so pretty decent price. Not going to be an MVP like I mentioned for me. 2,300 less on DraftKings. So in general, he's a guy though that as far as being under $9,000, he's probably got, in my opinion, as much upside as anybody else in this game. And then if you want to go with Alzwiski, he's coming in. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, but let's call him Gunner. He's coming in here at 7,000 on FanDuel, 5,400 on DraftKings. But with him, only 0.3 targets and 2.3 points, even though he did have 16 points last week on 1 target. So shit, he must have had just a really big, must have been one really big play. So that's the thing with those guys is if he ends up doing that price tag, if he were to do that again, he would almost certainly be in the top lineup. I'd almost damn near guarantee it. But what are the chances that shit's going to happen again with him? His last 5 games, 16 points, 3 games in a row with no points, and then 2 points. So he's probably kind of had his anomaly type game. So like I say, for me, it'd be easy for me to drop him out and never look back. But I'll probably throw him in maybe just a couple of lineups. All right, tight ends. Probably a little bit underwhelming here. We had Tyler Higbee, and I don't know. Maybe he will finish this year like he did last year, but he certainly has not started the year like he finished last year. Only averaging about 4 targets a game, 7 points. Price tag's 8,000 on FanDuel, 6,200 on DraftKings. Tough matchup for him. New England is 4th against opposing tight ends. The last 5 weeks, his production has been 10 points, 1, 4, 8, and 2. So not very exciting with him. His cohort there at tight end is Gerald Everett. He's been averaging almost 4 targets himself and about 5 points the last 5 weeks for him. His production has been 7, 3, 5, 4, and 6. So hard to be excited about really any of those guys. And usually when I play the Rams, like my rule is I typically don't partner when I play the tight ends. I don't really partner them up with, say, a guy like Josh Reynolds or that Van Jefferson, with the idea that there's just that there's just one football and not multiple of those guys aren't going to go off in the same game. And then partner them up with guys like Woods and Cup and and like the quarterbacks and things like that, maybe some of the running backs, but I typically don't do things like that. Um, Not to say that can't work, but just what are the chances of it happening? Probably pretty low. So now getting to the other side of the ball, I mean, fuck. I don't even know if I'm going to throw anybody in here other than Higbee and Everett. Maybe Izzo. He's out there 80% of the snaps, but the usage rate is only 3%, only 1.7 targets, 2 points for the year. I mean, I just really can't see myself really with any of the Patriots. If there's another guy, Dalton Keene, he's out there 47% of the snaps, but only 2% usage rate. I don't even know if this dude has even scored a point. Yeah, he scored 1 point in the last 5 weeks. In reality, if those guys do score, they'll probably come in a red zone situation. And you do see some of these backup tight ends on some teams. I will go down and buy down on that. But with these guys and the Patriots, if they were to happen to get that touchdown, it's probably they're in within 10 yards of it, and the guy that catches it probably not going to get much more than 7 or 8 points. Typically, the low score in these slates is usually getting 12 to 13 points, and I just don't think that either of the Patriots tight ends have got that upside. Higbee and Everett, I mean, barely have that upside. It'd be really easy to drop those guys out of my player pool too. If I was just doing a cash lineup and not GPP and multiple entries, I probably wouldn't fuck around with any tight ends, period. Yeah, they're really limited in their upside, and then you take the matchup as well. Now, going back with matchups, in theory, the Patriots tight ends have a pretty decent matchup at 17th, but again, they're just not utilizing this offense that the way that they were in the past with Brady. So, and even actually, they weren't last year with Brady. It was really just when they had Gronk and back in the day when they had Aaron Hernandez. But anyhow, yeah, pretty underwhelming tight end selections in my opinion. All right, let's look at the running backs here real quick. And this is where I think it gets a little bit tricky, just trying to figure out exactly what is going to happen at the running back situation here. So, yeah, I wonder where Burkhead is. Let's go down to 4 people on a depth chart. So I guess that's my first thing. I don't see Burkhead in here, so maybe he's hurt. I guess just keep an eye out on him. But assuming, I guess this for now, we'll assume that he is hurt. So if he's not, let's just take it back to 3 players here. And on Draft Dashboard here, if you're ever curious about it, in the video descriptions of my or the show notes on my YouTube videos, there's a link where you can just try it for $1 for a month. It's a pretty sweet tool. But getting back here with the running backs, yeah, it's I fucking hate these type of games, especially when there's 2 teams where they kind of do these 3-back approaches. It's just really trying to figure out who's going to be the man. And I guess we'll just start off with Cam Akers. Yeah, boy. I mean, I'm just looking at this. So I guess let's just start off with his carries. For Akers, the last 3 weeks, carries have been 21, 9, and 5. Targets 1, 0, and 1. Points 16, 14, 8. And then we go back 4 games. He had 4 points. And then 5 games, he had 6 points. So let's compare him to his the other guys there with the Rams. We have Darrell Henderson. With him, his carries last 3 weeks, 3, 10, 8. His targets 3, 1, and 3. His points 14, 2, and 2. And then we go back before that, 4 games ago, 10 points. 5 games ago, 6 points. And then last but not least, we have Malcolm Brown, 7.5 carries last 3 weeks, 3, 3, and 3 carries. Targets 1, 3, and 1. Points with him 3, 1, 3, 18, and 7. So you see at times these guys end up I don't know, like, it's just kind of up and down. I guess Cam Akers is probably, in theory, the guy that's getting the most usage out there. This is one of my favorite tools on Draft Dashboard. So here's where it gets tricky. He's out there only 23% of the snaps, with Darrell Henderson being out there for 36%, and then Malcolm Brown 45%. But then going back with the usage rate with Akers, when he's out there, he's used 52% of the time. Henderson is used 48% of the time. And then Brown is out there, he's used 31% of the time. So you can really see potential for any one of those guys to potentially go off. Now with Akers, his price tag is $12,500 on Fanduel, $11,700 on DraftKings, so he's a little bit more expensive there. Henderson is $11,000 on Fanduel, $10,200 on DraftKings, and then Malcolm Brown is $7,500 on Fanduel, $6,400 on DraftKings. So with me, my rule will be I'm not going to play multiple running backs from the same team on the Rams in this game. At times, I would possibly consider it with the Patriots, but in this game, I don't really think I'm going to. So getting back to the Patriots now, and we got Sonny Michel back. So before the Patriots was, I feel it was kind of a little bit easier to get your head wrapped around when it was Harris, White, and Burkhead. But now we got Michel into the mix. So with that, I just kind of wonder what that's going to maybe do to a guy like Damian Harris. So let's just go back to Harris, though. He's coming in here at $12,000 on FanDuel, $11,400 on DraftKings. Carries last 3 weeks, 16, 14, 11. His targets, 1, 0, and 2. Points for him have been 10, 5, and 12. And we go back 4 games, it was 12 again. And then 5 games ago, it was 7. So pretty consistent there. Now we jump down to James White. And with him, and I'll back up here with Harris for the year, been averaging about 10 points, 14 carries, and it's only 0.6 targets. So he's not really going to be involved in that running game, the passing game. Now going down to James White, who typically is more involved in the passing game, only 2.5 carries for the year, 4.5 targets, about 6.5 points with him. His production has been 2, 14, 11, 2, and 4. So a little bit up and down. Backing up with the Harris for the year, and keep in mind Michel had been hurt most of the year, but he had been out there for 53% snaps. The usage rate was 57%. So he's definitely involved in the offense. White, on the other hand, 37% usage rate, or snap rate, and then his usage rate when he's playing is 30%. So that's more your pass catching option. Matchup there, a little bit tougher for those Patriots guys. They're 6 going against the Rams. Rams running backs are got 16th matchup against Patriots. So anyhow, that's kind of, you got those guys there that kind of complement each other. Burkhead used to be like a little bit of duo at all, and then you have Sonny Michel, who, that's where I say with Harris is Michel's not really that pass catching type of back. With him for the year, 7.2 carries, targets 0.8, and about 6.5 points. With him, his points here, 6 points, and then play last 2 games, then 15 and 2. He's out there 40% of the snaps, 48% usage rate. So again, it's really kind of a clusterfuck with these guys. Just trying to figure out, because you figure, I damn near guarantee you, like, one of these dudes is going to be in that top fucking lineup. It's just going to try to figure out, and then like, and multiple of them are going to probably be big, huge fucking busts too. So, it is what it is. I suppose the nice thing about it is it just might make it where they're sometimes, like I was showing you in my last win, 2,100 people. I can't remember. It was a pretty big tie, to have that. So anyway, I suppose that's maybe one thing with the running backs. That's being clear cut maybe is a good thing to some degree. All right. And I guess here just wrapping up with kickers, you have Matt Gay, Nick Folk. I don't know what's to say about him. Not a whole lot. Gay's been averaging 9 points for the year. Folk, 8 points. Typically, what I'll do is I like to make the stack with the kicker and at least 2 other guys on the same team with that correspondence. Usually with the quarterback, and then a pass catcher of some sort. And I never play 2 kickers together. unless it's a scenario where the kicker, in this case, let's say with I don't know, like let's say I'm doing a stack with the Rams and like Folk is like the only basically the only salary that's left that will fit in there. In this case, it's really not the case between Sonny Michel and some other guys, so I don't even know if I'll do that. But I typically don't play two kickers together. You could certainly cash on that, and this is from a FanDuel perspective too. Keep that in mind. Could be different on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, I can't ever recall a top lineup, the winning lineup that got first ever having two kickers in lineup. Though again, you could certainly cash with two kickers lineup, but it just seems like you're somewhat limited in your upside with that. So, anyhow, that is pretty much it. So, I hope you guys go out and kick some ass here Thursday night, and then come probably be sometime on Friday. I'll have the Sunday night video out, and then later the Monday night video. And I don't know if they have any more games like on Tuesday next week or not, but anyhow, I should continue to focus on these showdown slates for you guys. So, all right, guys, kick some ass. Take care. Also, subscribe if you're not subscribed too. I appreciate that. All right, peace out, guys. See you.